Envision yourself as the architect of a financial dynasty, striding purposefully into your office each morning to oversee an empire managing over $1 trillion in assets. Would you view this as the pinnacle of achievement, where your family's decisions resonate through boardrooms, shape economic policies, and command attention from Singapore to Silicon Valley? Indeed, the magnitude of such responsibility would be immense, as each strategic move orchestrated by you and your kin reverberates through global markets, transforms countless lives, and sends ripples through the highest echelons of power. Yet for the Schwarzman family, this isn't a mere fantasy, it's their lived reality. As the driving force behind Blackstone, one of the world's most formidable alternative investment firms, the Schwarzmans possess a remarkable level of influence that extends far beyond Wall Street. In today's episode, we'll unravel their remarkable journey, revealing how Stephen Schwarzman and his family built their extraordinary legacy from the streets of Philadelphia, examining the mechanisms of their global reach and understanding the sophisticated strategies that keep their institution at the pinnacle of financial power as we describe. The Schwarzmans, the secret trillionaire family that runs the world. CEO and co-founder of financial juggernaut Blackstone, Stephen Schwarzman, doesn't just play the money game. He buys the entire board and the company that made it. Indeed, he's perched atop a financial empire that's reshaped global markets with the casual ease of someone rearranging their living room, and with an estimated net worth of $39 billion as of springtime this year. Schwarzman isn't merely wealthy. He's in a financial stratosphere where countries might ask him for a loan. But Blackstone isn't your typical Wall Street firm. It's the world's largest alternative asset manager, wielding over $1.1 trillion in assets like a conductor leading a symphony of profits. Whether it's private equity, real estate, credit, infrastructure, if it's an asset class, Blackstone likely dominates it. And its real estate arm alone controls a jaw-dropping $337 billion, making it the planet's largest commercial property owner. That's right. Walk into any major building, and there's a decent chance you're stepping on Schwarzman's turf. But owning vast swathes of the commercial world isn't enough when you can also collect historic mansions like trading cards. And in Newport, Rhode Island, Schwarzman didn't settle for just any seaside getaway. He snapped up the historic Miramar mansion for a cool $27 million and thought, why stop there? So he added the neighboring Ocean View estate to his shopping cart, creating a $43 million compound that ranks among Newport's priciest acquisitions. Undoubtedly, it's the kind of real estate portfolio that makes Gatsby look like he was pinching pennies. And the Miramar project is classic Schwarzman. Combine meticulous restoration with cutting-edge upgrades. He's investing at least $7 million to install modern amenities like a geothermal HVAC system, while preserving the Gilded Age grandeur that makes the mansion a piece of living history. And because owning such a jewel isn't quite enough, there are plans to eventually open Miramar as a private museum. It's a move that blends legacy building with a savvy approach to tax optimization. After all, even billionaires appreciate a good write-off. But Schwarzman's influence extends far beyond bricks and mortar, and his philanthropic endeavors read like an Instagram follower list of elite institutions. He gifted $150 million to Yale, £150 million to Oxford, and a staggering $350 million to MIT. And back in 2008, he contributed $100 million toward the expansion of the New York Public Library, where he serves as a trustee. In fact, the Central Reference Building on 42nd Street and 5th Avenue was subsequently renamed the Stephen A. Schwarzman Building, which you can still see embossed on the legendary Bryant Park structure today. Indeed, when your donations come with naming rights to iconic landmarks, you're operating on a different level of philanthropy. And these monumental contributions undoubtedly make a significant impact, but they also serve to cement Schwarzman's status among the global elite. It's philanthropy with a side of prestige, ensuring his name is etched into the very institutions that shape the minds of future leaders. Meanwhile, Blackstone continues its relentless expansion. The firm acquired over 200,000 new rental units between 2021 and 2022 alone, embedding itself even deeper into the fabric of everyday life. Thus, the Schwarzman family's wealth and influence aren't just enduring, they're compounding, much like the interest that swells their already colossal fortune. And yet, how did a young lad from the suburbs of Pennsylvania grow to have over $1 trillion under his thumb in less than a half-century? To get our answer, let's flip over to the next chapter. In the early years of the 20th century, the Schwarzman family arrived at Ellis Island from their home in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Now, the Schwarzmans, their name bearing Germanic roots and meaning of all things black man, joined the great wave of European Jewish immigrants seeking new lives in America. Then, they made their way to Philadelphia, a city that would shape generations of their family to come. By the 1940s, their son Joseph had established himself in Philadelphia's commercial life, operating Schwarzmans, a dry goods store that served the daily needs of the city's residents. And Philadelphia, in these post-war years, hummed with industry and promise. The city's broad streets and brick row houses teemed with returning veterans and growing families, while suburban developments spread like fingers into the surrounding countryside, including Huntingdon Valley, where Joseph and his wife Arlene made their home. It was here, on Valentine's Day 1947, that Stephen Allen Schwarzman entered the world. Now, Huntingdon Valley in those days stood as a green refuge from Philadelphia's industrial core. Rolling hills and mature trees lined the streets where children played freely, and neighbors knew one another by name. And the Jewish community had grown steadily in the decades since Stephen's grandparents' arrival, creating a tight-knit network of families who shared similar histories of immigration and achievement. But Joseph Schwarzman, armed with his Wharton School education, ran his store with precision and care, teaching his children the fundamentals of commerce through daily example. Thus, young Stephen observed his father's meticulous attention to inventory, customer relations, and the careful balance of accounts. The lessons took root early and deep. At 14, Stephen revealed the first glimpses of his future business acumen. While other boys his age earned pocket money from paper routes or soda fountain jobs, young Schwarzman created his own enterprise, a lawn mowing operation that demonstrated his instinct for delegation and management. He recruited his younger twin brothers, Mark and Warren, as his labor force, freeing himself to focus on the more sophisticated aspects of business development and customer acquisition. Now, the halls of Abington Senior High School in the early 1960s echoed with the optimism of the Kennedy era, and Stephen thrived in this atmosphere of possibility. His academic excellence opened the door to Yale University, where the limestone walls held centuries of ambition and achievement. There, amid Gothic spires and leafy courtyards, Schwarzman's horizons expanded beyond business. For example, he founded the Davenport Ballet Society, revealing an appreciation for artistry that would later influence his philanthropic endeavors. The exclusive Skull and Bones Society inducted him into its ranks, placing him in a centuries-old network of America's most influential figures. After Yale, brief service in the U.S. Army Reserve preceded his arrival at Harvard Business School, where the foundations of modern American capitalism were taught in red brick buildings along the Charles River. By 1972, with his MBA in hand, Stephen Schwarzman stood ready to write his own chapter in American business history. Stephen Schwarzman's ascent in the world of finance began at Lehman Brothers, where he quickly distinguished himself as a formidable talent in mergers and acquisitions. By the remarkably young age of 31, Schwarzman had risen to head Lehman's global M&A division, a testament to his sharp business acumen and relentless drive. At 31, he'd already earned his reputation as Wall Street's rising star, commanding Lehman's global M&A division with an iron will and uncanny instinct for the kill. But beneath his perfectly tailored suits and measured demeanor, Schwarzman nursed greater ambitions. The year was 1985, and Manhattan's concrete canyons beckoned with promises of unprecedented wealth and power. In a smoke-filled conference room overlooking Park Avenue, Schwarzman and his mentor Peter Peterson sketched out their master plan on a wrinkled napkin, a new firm that would revolutionize private equity. With a mere $400,000 in seed capital, they launched the Blackstone Group, its name a calculated fusion of their heritage. Schwarz, meaning black in German, as mentioned before, merged with Peter's Greek-rooted stone. The symbolism wasn't lost on Wall Street's old guard. This foundation would be unshakable. Now, their initial years as a boutique M&A advisory firm served as mere prelude. Schwarzman worked his connections with surgical precision, his phone calls and handshakes opening doors that remained firmly closed to others. By 1987, he had orchestrated an $800 million private equity fund that sent shockwaves through the financial district. Then, the 1990s saw Schwarzman transform from deal-maker to empire builder. While competitors remained locked in their traditional lanes, he pushed Blackstone into real estate, hedge funds, and credit markets. His timing proved devastating. When the savings and loan crisis hit in 1991, Schwarzman swooped in like a predator, snatching prime properties at pennies on the dollar through the newly minted Blackstone real estate advisors. His influence extended far beyond Wall Street's boundaries. In Washington's corridors of power, Schwarzman moved like a shadow, building alliances with future presidents and key policymakers. His political contributions flowed like wine at a Roman feast, predominantly toward Republican coffers, ensuring Blackstone's interests remained protected in the marble halls of Congress. As his wealth grew, so did his appetite for spectacle. For instance, his 60th birthday celebration, a $3 million extravaganza featuring Rod Stewart, became legend in New York society. Yet even as critics whispered about excess, Schwarzman remained focused on his masterpiece, Blackstone's IPO. Thus, in June 2007, as storm clouds gathered over global markets, Schwarzman orchestrated his magnum opus. The $4.75 billion IPO valued Blackstone at $39 billion, transforming the firm into a financial colossus. And while months later, when the 2008 financial crisis swept through Wall Street like a hurricane, and lesser firms crumbled, Blackstone stood firm, a monument to Schwarzman's almost supernatural ability to read the market's darkest moods. In his wake, Schwarzman left a transformed financial landscape, where private equity giants wielded power that would have been unimaginable in the days of his youth at Lehman Brothers. Through calculated risk, political savvy, and ruthless execution, he had written himself into the pantheon of Wall Street legends, his name whispered with equal measures of fear and admiration in boardrooms across the globe. Now, in the rarefied air of Wall Street's elite, few figures loom larger than Stephen Schwarzman, yet his tenure at Blackstone's helm illustrates the delicate balance between political influence and public perception in modern American capitalism. And, as the architect of one of the world's most formidable financial institutions, Schwarzman has demonstrated an uncanny ability to navigate both boardrooms and backrooms, though not without stirring considerable controversy. Consider his role as chairman of President Trump's Strategic and Policy Forum in 2017. What began as a prestigious assembly of America's corporate titans quickly devolved into a political minefield following the president's controversial remarks about Charlottesville. The exodus of prominent CEOs like Elon Musk and Bob Iger highlighted the perils of mixing business leadership with political advisory roles in an increasingly polarized America. The forum's inglorious end, with Trump preemptively announcing its dissolution on Twitter before members could resign en masse, served as a stark reminder of the volatility inherent in such partnerships. Even Schwarzman's philanthropic endeavors have not escaped scrutiny. His 2018 pledge of $25 million to Abington High School became a case study in the complexities of modern patronage. The initial stipulation of naming rights triggered such fierce public backlash that the agreement required substantial revision, demonstrating how even well-intentioned giving can become entangled in debates about influence and legacy. But it is perhaps in Blackstone's core business practices where the most substantive criticisms have emerged. The firm's aggressive acquisition of foreclosed homes following the 2008 financial crisis, while perfectly legal and arguably shrewd from a business perspective, has drawn sharp criticism for potentially exacerbating housing affordability issues. Through its Invitation Homes subsidiary, Blackstone deployed approximately $10 billion, primarily leveraged funds, to acquire and renovate distressed properties. While this strategy generated substantial returns for investors, critics argue it contributed to the displacement of vulnerable communities and the acceleration of urban gentrification. And the firm's real estate empire, now approaching $300 billion and generating nearly half of Blackstone's earnings, exemplifies both the remarkable success of its business model and the broader questions it raises about institutional investors' role in housing markets. These controversies notwithstanding, the Schwarzmans have demonstrated remarkable resilience in maintaining Blackstone's position as a financial powerhouse. Yet, as the firm continues to expand its reach and influence, these tensions are likely to remain at the forefront of discussions about the proper role of institutional investors in our economy and society. But behind every titan of Wall Street lies a complex web of personal relationships that shape not only individual legacies, but also the broader contours of American elite society. In the case of Stephen Schwarzman, his personal narrative reads like a carefully crafted playbook of social mobility, strategic alliances, and generational reinvention. First, Schwarzman's first marriage to Ellen Phillips in 1971 represented a classic merger of ambitious talent with established wealth. The daughter of Jesse Phillips, a prominent Ohio industrialist, Ellen met the future financial mogul during his Harvard Business School days, where she worked as a researcher. And their 19-year union, which ended in 1990, produced 2 children, who would later carve their own distinctive paths far from the canyons of Wall Street. The second chapter of Schwarzman's personal life began in 1995 with his marriage to Christine Hurst, a match that perfectly illustrates the fluid nature of American social mobility. Christine, born Christine Mularchuk from modest beginnings in Hicksville, Long Island, had already navigated her way through the upper echelons of New York society. A trained intellectual property lawyer with degrees from Hofstra University and NYU Law School, she had previously been married to Austin Chilton Hurst, linking her to one of America's most storied media dynasties. The couple's $30 million triplex at 740 Park Avenue, that limestone temple of old money acquired in the year 2000, serves as both home and symbol of their social standing. Yet perhaps most intriguing is how the next generation of Schwarzmans has chosen to write their own stories, deliberately steering clear of their father's financial empire. Elizabeth "Zibby" Owens has emerged as a cultural force in her own right, wielding influence through her widely followed podcast, Mums Don't Have Time to Read Books, and building Zibby Media into a multimedia enterprise. Her transition from Park Avenue princess to literary entrepreneur exemplifies the modern evolution of inherited privilege into creative capital. Meanwhile, Edward "Teddy" Schwarzman has carved his own niche in Hollywood, backing critically acclaimed films like The Imitation Game. His success in the entertainment industry suggests that the family's talent for identifying and monetizing opportunities extends well beyond private equity. Thus, the Schwarzman family saga illustrates a broader transformation in American elite society, where traditional barriers between old money, new money, and creative capital have become increasingly permeable. While Stephen Schwarzman continues to command Blackstone's financial empire, his children's ventures into media and entertainment represent a sophisticated diversification of the family's influence, one that extends far beyond the balance sheets and boardrooms where their father made his name. And now, we'd like to see you in the comments. What is your opinion of Blackstone, Stephen Schwarzman and his family? Are they doing a good job steering more than $1 trillion in assets for humanity? Or are they not playing fair with the income of billions of people? We can't wait to hear your thoughts, and we'll see you below. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Old Money Luxury, and cheers until next time.